Hey everybody, welcome back to See What God Did There, episode 8. In the last episode, we discussed the 70 emojis of Torah and the concept that there are 7 emotions according to the Sephardic model of the psyche. There are 7 emotions, and each of those 7 emotions has 10 sephirot in it to create 70 different, in a sense, personality types, 70 different processing types. And we suggested that this is one of the meanings when it says that there are 70 faces of Torah, shivim panim Torah. The word panim is face. It also means the word panim, which means inner world. And a person's face reveals their inner world. And therefore, a person can have different expressions which reveal different emotions that are going inside of his inner world. So too, when Hashem reveals his Torah to us, everything in Torah we were suggesting can be revealed in 70, or interpreted and read in 70 different ways, as if it's coming from potentially 70 different places in God's own psyche and God's own personality. I just want to clarify that this was an idea that it's not something I've seen clearly expressed in Chassidus or Kabbalah. The concept that's in Chassidus and Kabbalah that I have seen is when regarding to the 70 nations. It says in the teaching of Chesed Avram of the Maggid of Mizrich's son, Rav Avram HaMalach, he writes clearly that there's 70 nations of the non-Jewish nations of the world, because there are 7 emotions, and each of those 7 emotions has 10 sephirot in it. So that results in 70 different, in a sense, national identities or personalities. I have seen it discussed in teachings from Rabbi Yitzhak Ginsburg and his students that the 70 nations and the 70 souls, archetype souls that went down to Egypt with Jacob, and the 70 elders and the 70 sages of the Sanhedrin and the 70 facets of Torah, that they all reflect each other. But I haven't seen it clearly stated that the Shivim Panim Torah, the 70 facets, represents the 70 emotions of God, so to speak. Something that we're suggesting here. And even if there is truth to it, it would also only be one of the 70 facets of Torah. There could be many other ways of understanding the concept of the 70 facets. But I just wanted to bring out a teaching that's very interesting. We mentioned before Reb Avram HaMalach, the son of the Maggid of Mizrich. The Maggid of Mizrich was the successor of the Baal Shem Tov. He was the second leader of the collective Hasidic movement. And there's a question that the Maggid of Mizrich asks on the Talmud in Megillah. The Talmud in Megillah says that King Josiah went to seek prophecy, a prophetic message from Huldah, who was a female prophetess of the time. And the Gemara asks, why did he go to Huldah rather than to Jeremiah? Jeremiah was obviously a chief prophet. Why did King Josiah go to Huldah rather than Jeremiah? And the Gemara answers, the Talmud answers that women by nature are more compassionate, and Josiah was hoping for a compassionate prophecy. So therefore he went to Huldah hoping for a compassionate prophecy. So the Maggid of Mizrich asks, what does that mean? A prophet is supposed to be speaking the words of God. He doesn't change it based on his own personality. So what does it mean that going to Huldah would have resulted in a compassionate prophecy, whereas Jeremiah might not have? So the Maggid explains that even if the words of the prophecy would be the same, regardless of the prophet that the king had gone to, the tone or the tune that the prophet or prophetess would speak in would be different. And since a woman is more compassionate by nature, King Josiah was hoping for a compassionate prophecy, meaning that Huldah would reveal and express the prophecy in a compassionate tone. Now, we can also understand this on different ways. Like even in a simple level, if a prophecy is given in a very harsh way, then in a sense we would expect that the prophecy would manifest in a real harsh manifestation. Whereas if a prophecy might be a harsh wording, but if it was expressed in a compassionate way, we would expect that harshness would still come forth in a way where there's compassion mixed in. So even on a simple way of understanding this, the Maggid's teaching is very profound, that if a prophet gives over a prophecy in a compassionate tune or a compassionate tone, that itself influences how we are expecting the prophecy to manifest, and in a sense it obligates God to manifest the prophecy in that way, because otherwise God would not be manifesting the prophecy the way it was revealed by the prophet. But on a deeper sense, in line with what we were suggesting before last week, in the last episode about the Shivim Panim Torah, that one way of understanding that is that everything that God teaches in Torah can come from a different emotional place within God's own teaching, within God's own psyche, and so to speak, God's own soul. In a sense, God has different prophets that he ascends to the people, and in that sense, different teachers, not only prophets, but teachers. And when a teacher or a prophet gives over a teaching or a prophecy in a compassionate way, he is revealing a part of Torah from God in a compassionate sense rather than in a harsh sense. He is revealing it from one of the 70 inner personality points of God, which is revealing compassion rather than strictness. It could come also from love. It could also come from confidence. It could also come from bonding. Each of the different emotions that we have in the Sephirotic model, in a sense, the prophet or the teacher could reveal it through one of those 70 emotional sources, emotional roots. So this is perhaps another way to understand this concept of the 70 facets or 70 faces of Torah. And in a sense, God gives it to us to read his words, and when we approach God with, in a sense, believing in God's compassion, that's the way that we're able to read those words in a compassionate way, and then God, in a sense, responds in kind and actually reveals that teaching to us in a compassionate manner.